Now, the inspiration for our show tonight really is this single phrase. So when it comes to parsing the English language, Minnesota Public Radio has a podcast. It's called Grammer Grater, and they're particularly good at this kind of thing. Luke Taylor is one of the folks behind it. Hey, Luke.
Hey, Jeff. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. Grammer Grater, for people who don't know, it's all about taking a fun look at grammar and usage.
That's right. It's surprising how much fun you can have just playing with words.
Now, you brought some of your gang along here. What did you guys uncover for us about flip-flop?
Well, it's interesting, Jeff. Flip-flop is actually in a family of words that are created by a process called reduplication. And what that means is the repetition of a same or similar sound. And other words in this family include things like knick-knack, flim-flam, hodgepodge, shilly-shally, and hoity-toity. And like flip-flop, these words are often hyphenated. And we found that flip-flop has a number of meanings. And one of those meanings comes from the world of electronics.
In digital circuits, a flip-flop is a kind of bistable multivibrator, an electronic circuit that's capable of serving as one bit of memory.
Fascinating.
Now, in addition to that thing, flip-flop is also a kind of bicycle hub. It's a handspring in gymnastics. And of course, we're all familiar with its use in the world of fashion. Footwear, flip-flops, AKA thongs.
Ooh, I just love to grab my thongs and head out to the beach.
Oh my.
And now, of course, the thing you've all been waiting for, the political meaning of flip-flop. And that's when a political person has a sudden real or apparent change of policy or opinion. Now, to understand this better, let's follow a fictitious politician, Senator John Q. Sample, as he takes his whistle-stop tour.
Why, hello, Senator Sample. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm with the Dairy Farmers Association.
Oh, well, let me assure you that if elected, I promise to declare the milkshake one of the most beneficial drinks to humankind.
I'm darn glad to hear that. You've got my vote.
Why, thank you.
Senator Sample, I'm with the Heart Association, and I'd like to know your position on milkshakes.
Well, let me say that I'm opposed to milkshakes due to their fatty content.
Now, that is an example of a flip-flop. Now, if you listen carefully, you'll hear that in the political sense, the word flip-flop can be used as a noun and as a verb.
Senator Sample, how do you respond to the allegations on this whole flip-flopping issue of the milkshakes?
I have not, I do not, and I will never flip-flop.
But there are reports that
I am not a flip-flopper.
Now, the word flip-flop earned a great deal of attention in the US presidential election of 2004. But we found that the term goes at least as far back as the 1988 campaign. In the run-up to that year's election, Michael Dukakis took out a television ad showing acrobats doing flips, and he accused rival Richard Gephardt of flip-flops on abortion and minimum wage issues. Then, in a March 23, 1988 op-ed in the Washington Post, Dukakis was himself accused of flip-flopping on proposed trade legislation. And the idea of flip-flop is not limited to American politics. It's much more widespread. In Sweden, a flip-flop is referred to as kappvandra, and this translates as someone who turns their coat to the changing winds. In Romania, a flip-flop is fluteraș, which means butterfly. It's sort of the political equivalent of a social butterfly. And of course, many other English-speaking countries use flip-flop as well. Here's a passage from the Sydney Morning Herald, dated November 8, 2007.
The debate had provided little new material to the argument. There were no new policies, fireworks, or flip-flops.
And it's even made its way to the airwaves of the BBC and the CBC. Flip-flop is clearly a popular and valued political term throughout the world.
Why would that be? It's kind of a weird word.
Yeah, why is flip-flop so popular? Why don't we call it a U-turn or something?
Now, those are great questions. So let's turn to our friend Gordon Jarvie, the author of the Bloomsbury Grammar Guide. Remember, as we said earlier, flip-flop is a word that's formed by reduplication.
Many of these reduplicative words involve an element of rhyme, which is what makes them memorable and ensures the contemporary colloquial popularity of this aspect of word formation. Nowadays, we all seem to love a rhyme.
Hey, he's right. Flip-flop is a fun word. Flip-flop, flip-flop, flip-flop.
Oh, yes. And it works so well in those sound bites and attack ads.
Let's hear it for our folks from the Grammer Grater podcast joining us here on In the Loop.